What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Now, I'll be honest with you, this might be one of the very last videos I make about Joe Biden. I don't know for sure, but this will probably be one of the last videos I make about Joe Biden, so I'm going to try to make it one of the best videos about Joe Biden I think I've ever made. Now, we know for a fact the mainstream news lied outright about Joe Biden. They are trying to deny this, right? Of course, that's what they're going to do. They're going to deny, build a narrative. That's what they do. Build this narrative. Now what they're trying to do is they see that one of their narratives were broken outright. So what they're trying to do now is, come in for a soft landing, if you will, and trying to let everybody down easy. They were trying to act surprised. Oh, we didn't know Joe Biden was this bad off.
I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life.
We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to
What must be what? I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize true international effort to pressure.
Let me start off with two words. Made in America.
It's utter nonsense. It's utter garbage. Oh, we didn't know that Joe Biden's mental acuity was utterly failing. We were just taking your words for it, politicians. We were just believing you outright. On your face. We trust our politicians.
We choose science over fiction. We choose truth over facts. Are you ready to choose freedom over democracy? Because that's America.
Yes. Enthusiasts, and you are actively trying to diminish our Second Amendment right and take away our guns.
You're full of
No, I'm sorry. I can't buy into that. But this is the narrative, right?
One of the things we also do in the year-end correspondence roundtable is dig into what was undercovered or underreported. Jan?
Undercovered, underreported. That would be, to me, Joe Biden's obvious cognitive decline that became undeniable in the televised debate.
At the presidential debate with Donald Trump.
Unquestioned. And, it's starting to emerge now that his advisors kind of managed his limitations. It's been reported in the Wall Street Journal for 4 years. And yet he insisted that he could still run for president. We should have much more forcefully questioned whether he was fit for office for another 4 years, which could have led to a primary. For the Democrats. It could have changed the scope of the entire election. Yet, still, incredibly, we read in the Washington Post that his advisors are saying that he regrets that he dropped out of the race. That he thinks he could have beaten Trump. And I think that is either delusional or they're gaslighting.
It was very disturbing to learn late in the year about just how poor his health has become. And like many, I did not realize that it had gotten to that point.
Oh, we had no idea. It's all lies, right? It's all lies. Oh, this was so underreported, wasn't it? Yeah, we can't believe that they did this. They pulled the wool right over our eyes. Now they're trying to deflect, and it's funny to watch these people flounder. But you know what? The politicians, they can't flounder. They can't try to come in for that soft landing, can they? No, they can't. They are still upholding this idea. They are still trying to push this narrative that Joe Biden is fine, y'all. He's a dynamo in the background. Check this out. We got a new interview from Chuck Schumer on NBC. Check this out. We didn't. Chuck Schumer gets defensive after NBC's Kristen Welker asks if he misled Americans about Biden's mental acuity. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer got defensive when questioned about his comments reassuring the public about President Joe Biden's mental acuity. In an interview on Sunday's Meet the Press, moderator Kristen Welker confronted Schumer by playing a clip from February in which the Democratic leader vouched for Biden's mental state.
Obviously, there has been a lot of focus on President Biden's role in this. You were obviously in close contact with President Biden well before the public tuned into that debate that ultimately led to him stepping down. I want to play you a little bit of something you said last year. Take a look.
I talk to President Biden, regularly, sometimes several times in a week, or usually several times in a week. His mental acuity is great. It's fine. It's as good as it's been over the years. All this right-wing propaganda that his mental acuity has declined is wrong.
Leader Schumer, what do you say to Americans who feel as though you and other top Democrats misled them about President Biden's mental acuity?
Well, look, we didn't, and let's look at President Biden. He's had an amazing record. The legislation we passed, one of the most significant groups of legislation since since Lyndon Johnson's Great Society, putting in 235 judges, a record, and he's a patriot. He's a great guy, and when he stepped down, he did it on his own because he thought it was better not only for the Democratic Party, for America. We should all salute him. We should all salute him.
Do you feel, as we have this conversation today, that President Biden could serve another 4 years had he stayed in the race and potentially won?
Well, I'm not going to speculate. As I said, I think his record is a stellar one, and he'll go down in history as a really outstanding president.
So you didn't mislead the American public, did you? Are you sure about that?
Anyway, and I don't want to, well, maybe choose my words.
Does the president have the stamina, physically and mentally, do you think, to continue on even after 2024?
Don, you're asking me this question. Oh my gosh, he's the president of the United States. You know, I can't even keep up with it.
I was just thinking, anyway, but I just, look, I mean, Putin's kleptocracy, yeah.
The most difficult part about a meeting with President Biden is preparing for it, because he is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
It was in January, after being elected, the late January, early February.
I have complete confidence in the president. I have watched him expertly guide meetings of staff and cabinet members. I could not have more confidence in the president.
I can testify because I've been working very closely with this president for the past 2 years. I've been knowing him for 30 years. And I'm telling you, this guy's tough. He's smart. He's on his...
He said, it's not, we lead, not just, well, I won't go into
game.
Joe Biden has vision, he has knowledge, he has a strategic thinker.
Here's what drives the driver in the states that are affected. Here's what you can do, the driver.
The president is focused. He's detail-oriented. He's always thinking about the big picture.
For two reasons. One,
He is engaging, he is capable, he has an incredible record as president.
It's an impact that decades are making, because inaction was
and I'm often with him on foreign trips. He's at the top of his game.
Actually, with the Department of
So he has a vision, he has knowledge, he has judgment, he has a strategic thinking.
From Charlotte, another line going from in Florida down to Tampa.
I met with the president, I don't know, 5 or 6 weeks ago, and he seemed fine to me.
The best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to. Anyway, the idea that.
Okay, so that's a classic montage, and I love that montage. But getting back to Chuck Schumer about Joe Biden, right? If the only thing you can hang your hat on is your accomplishments is to just sign off on legislation written up by others, what are you doing here? right? Look at everything else Joe Biden has absolutely destroyed this country. Like, not physically destroyed the country, but he's destroyed any semblance of what we used to be, right? Donald Trump coming in is going to have one of the toughest jobs in American history, trying to build this nation back up to where it was in 2019. That's going to be very tough because we have an open, porous southern border that Joe Biden has just utterly demolished, that he's selling off the border wall that was paid for by you guys, selling that stuff off as if it's just junk lying around, which it's not, by the way. It's not junk. It's still good wall that we could still put up and build. But he's just selling that off, auctioning it off, trying to do it in secret, but he got caught doing it, and now that's another scandal to check off the box on the worst president in United States history by a lot, by very, very far. Joe Biden is the worst. You got Afghanistan, right? That was the worst withdrawal from a conflict in United States history, one that took 20 years to resolve in utter failure. 13 service members died because of his incompetence, because of the incompetence of the Biden administration. We got testimony from generals saying that they were trying to advise, no, we should do it this way. We should do it this way. And Joe Biden insisted on doing it a specific way that ended up in the deaths of 13 service members. It's garbage. Then at the transfer ceremony, he's over here looking at his watch, pissing off the Gold Star families. That was another scandal on top of the Afghanistan withdrawal scandal, right? And then they try to play partisan politics when Donald Trump goes to Arlington National Cemetery. You guys remember this? It was another hoax, right? They were trying to say, oh, well, he's playing political games with dead servicemen. No, you guys were the ones that got these people killed in the first place. It's absurd. They try to turn that back on Donald Trump because he shows up. He was asked by the Gold Star families to come in and honor these service members' service, in other words. And what did they do? They turned that around, tried to play politics, tried to make Trump out to be the bad guy when those people shouldn't have been there in the first place. That whole reason they were there was due to Joe Biden's failure, due to Joe Biden's ego wanting to do something a certain way instead of listening to his advisors, listening to the generals, listening to the guys on the ground that know what's going on. None of that would have happened. If he would have followed Trump's plan, you never know what would have happened. It probably would have went a lot better, but no, he decides he's going to just throw everything that Donald Trump did away. Just throw it all away. Right from everything. He overturned 94 executive orders in his first days in office. 94 of Trump's executive orders. Got rid of the Remain in Mexico. And then, not to say, going after Donald Trump, not only politically, but through the judiciary, getting a special counsel to bring up these garbage charges that they ended up dropping anyway. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. Then you've got, there's so many things. I can't mention them all. I can't think of everything, but you got student loan debt relief. You got student loan debt relief again. You got the vax mandates, trying to get OSHA to facilitate the vax mandates through OSHA, of all things, got sued. Then you've got violating people's First Amendment rights, having backdoor access to social media to silence voices, silencing many, many, many thousands of voices online, getting counts banned outright from social media platforms. That's absurd. Just on its face, absurd. There's so much we could go over, from those things to fighting Texas, trying to put up barbed wire to stop people from crossing the Rio Grande, a dangerous, high-flowing river that people drowned on trying to cross by the hundreds of thousands, well, not hundreds of thousands, but hundreds to thousands every single year. They drowned in that river trying to cross to get into the United States. Governor Greg Abbott tries to put up a barrier, the razor wire, to try to stop them from trying to swim across that river. And what does Joe Biden do? He fights. He takes your taxpayer dollars to fight Texas to stop them from doing this. That's absurd on its face. So Texas, what do? They fight back. They have to take more taxpayer dollars. So Texas is getting double dipped on just that. But that's not the only thing. Then what does Texas do? Well, they want to give the ability for local police officers, if they suspect somebody is in the country illegally, they want to empower their officers to give them the right to arrest and detain these people and turn them over to ICE. What does the Biden administration do? They sue Texas to stop this law from being implemented. Spending your taxpayer dollars to fight a state that is trying to help the federal government. Once again, Texas taxpayers are getting double dipped on this one. Not only through federal tax, but state tax, because now Texas has to go to federal court and defend itself against an onslaught from the federal government that should never be taking place in the first place. That's just minor things. You've got the climate agenda. Joe Biden's climate agenda that would have, by 2032, shut down hundreds of coal-fired power plants in this country, causing blackouts to a large swath of this country if they don't install scrubber technology that's not even fully developed yet. Right? The timeline for this thing is absurd. I covered this extensively about 6-8 months ago. Right? So this technology, it's 2 to 3 years out. And Joe Biden wants this done by 2032. At this point, that's 7 years away. So at that point, it was, that was 8-9 months ago, 6-8 months ago, something like that. So, the timeline is still kind of correct. 2 to 3 years out to get this technology. So you got 4 to 5 years to install all this technology on every single coal-fired power plant in the country. That's absurd. That's never going to happen. Never going to happen. Right? That's not only at a time when people are pinching pennies. It's not only just an absurd timeline, right? That's going to cause the energy costs to go up because this has got to be paid for. There's no subsidies, right? The government isn't paying for this. Even if it was, somebody's got to pay for this. The tax dollars got to pay for this, right? But they're not doing that, are they? They're making the power plants pay for this themselves. Absurd on its face. Then you've got all this other climate stuff. They've got the charging stations. We spent $9 billion to build 3 charging stations. They've got 9 charging stations built at this point. But at the time, when I covered the story, they had 3 built and they had spent $9 billion. Now, that was kind of tied up in contracts, but needless to say, Elon Musk comes out and says he can build a charging station for less than $200,000. Huh? That's absurd. Right? Then you had the good neighbor policy, which allows states to sue other states for climate damage. Yes, you heard that correctly. For climate damage. This was a rule by the Biden administration. It's just insane over more insanity over more insanity. This Biden administration has been the worst by far, and I cannot speak any more badly about the Biden administration. I can't. It's been the worst. And it's hard to say if the Trump administration is going to be able to repair the damage just from Joe Biden. So thank you to the 81 million people that voted for Joe Biden to put us even further in the hole than we should have been. It's just insane, right? If we could have only got Trump in for that second term, I think we'd be way better off. I think the Trump administration knew about the supply chain issues that we had coming up and would have done something about it. But the new incoming Biden administration, in their incompetence, did nothing. The transportation secretary, where was he when all this was going down? When we're in the middle of a supply chain crisis? Well, he's on paternity leave because he's not a mom. He's on paternity leave. We're in the middle of a supply chain crisis. They did nothing to stop the inflation from rising to 9%. I don't believe that would have taken place under the Trump administration. Not to mention all the wars that we have going on. We've sent hundreds of billions of dollars to fight war in Ukraine. We've sent billions, tens of billions of dollars to Israel for their war. Right? Saudi Arabia has gotten out of the petrodollar. The petrodollar's gone, y'all. Right? Smashing our global hegemony on currency. Smashing that. We haven't seen the result of that yet in the United States, but that devalued the crap out of the dollar. And Joe Biden did nothing. And these are just the things I can think of off the top of my head. That's a lot. That's a whole lot. What did the Trump administration do? Let me know down in the comments section. But that's all I got for this one, y'all. I want y'all to let me know what y'all think. And y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace. Yeah, I screwed that all up at the end, didn't I?